Welcome all to the weekly outlook. Been here from EWPRO. If you get anything out of these videos, please hit the like button, share and subscribe. And of course, you can always leave a comment. Looking at the DXY on the daily, nothing's changed since last week. We can either get one up in here breaking this top and even breaking this top here as some sort of an A, B, C. Looking at this as a B wave, and we get an A, B, C. H4, it's getting quite complicated. We had these 5 down in here, and then we had that 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 as a complex correction, 3 3 3. So that I was thinking would have been the end of the correction, and then we get another 5 down in here. We did get another 5 down, but it never went and broke the end of the ending point of this 5 down. So this is becoming more complex, and like I said last week, this can be a flat in here, and we get that A, B, C. Problem I'm seeing now is this is very slow, and even last week it was very slow. I didn't like it. Getting all this bearish divergence on the H1, I mean, we got that 1 2 3 4 5 up in here. This is an impulse. We can look at this as some sort of a correction in here. We get another one up in here. Then we get an A, B, C as a larger correction after the 5 up, and we get another 5 up. But there's a few different scenarios here in this correction. Yeah, and we got all that bearish divergence, so we're really looking for a direction. Yeah, there's not really anything solid on it. You on the daily, we're looking for this C up. This is looking rather bullish. H4, we got those 5 up, which is fine, and then we had that 1 2 3 down. Nice impulse up, but it comes straight back down. It's still looking rather bullish here, but like I mentioned last week, this can be quite complicated, and we get this is the B wave here. We get an A, an A, an A, and we get a B in here, and we get a C up, and then we get the A, B, C as a flat before we get the larger A, B, C, and then we get that like A, B, C, finishing off the correction after the 5 up. So like I mentioned last week, this can become quite complex. So yeah, again, there is no real clear direction. I think, like I mentioned last week, we're going to be in a long drawn out correction in here. And by the look of last week, that's pretty much what we got. At this particular time, you could go down onto the lower time frames and look for your direction. It's just scalping though. For example, we got 1 2 3 up in here, nice impulse up. If you get a correction in here, you can look for another one up. But it's scalping. You really got to take profit, or at least half off the table, because like I mentioned on the H4, after the 5 up, more than likely we'll get a long drawn out correction, and I believe that's what we're going to get. The GU, nothing's changed since last week. I'm looking for this C up and still am. It's it's not really playing nicely. I was looking for that A, B, C. Well, over here I was looking for the C up. It gave us this correction in here, and we got 3 up in here now. We got that 1 2 3. So we may be getting that A, B, C down. We're just looking to see what's going on in here, really, on the lower time frames. We got the 5 up, looking for that larger correction. Pretty much played out how I was looking at last week. You know, I was looking for one up in here and then another one to break the low as an A, B, C in here, that flat, and then we get that A, B, C. Still looking for a larger correction though after this 5 up. You know, so this more than likely will turn more complex as well. H1 we do have the bullish divergence, so you can look for buys, but it's not giving us buys. It's not giving us any buys. You know, we do have all that bullish divergence, but we're not getting. You know, this is still looking rather corrective in here. You know, this is very choppy in here, so it's not impulsive. More than likely, it's more corrective for another one down. Yeah, I don't think it's ready. Well, it's not showing signs of reversal on the H1 chart. It's still more bearish, even though we have that bearish divergence. So it's just scalping on the lower time frames, like I showed on the AU on the M15. It's just scalping. EU on the daily. Sort of looking at this flat in here as the A, B, C before we get this ending point of wave B, and then we get the A, B, C up. I was looking for the C up here, and that was fine. You know, definitely got break even. You know, at worst, you know, you still make a fair few pips in that. It didn't go, and we had that bear hidden in here, so I wouldn't be surprised if this low here does get broken. We got the 5 up on the H4, and we're starting to correct in here. We sort of got that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like I showed last week, and we're getting this A, B, C here. So a larger correction. So I'd be expecting another 5 down to go and break that low more than likely. Excuse me. The H1, it's like the others. It's not showing a sign of reversal. It's more still very much bearish. You know, we're sort of in this range here. For more downside, more than likely, unless we see some sort of a really nice impulse up and a correction, you know, you're pretty much looking for sells. You know, more than likely, we're just looking at the price action. You know, I mean, this can turn really complex just looking at the current price action on the M15, because in here, you know, this could be the choppiest wave, and we get an A, a B, and a C in here. A, B, C, A, B, C has your larger flat, and then you get that A, B, C before you get 5, 3, 5, or 5 correction and another 5 down. So this can turn quite complex. It's really going down onto the lower time frames and just scalping pretty much at this stage. Like to see the end of the correction, you know, end of this correction here, and then you could look for a sell. But at this stage, you know, it doesn't look complete. Only looks half complete, so it can take a while for that correction to complete. NU, you know, I am looking for this up in here, and I am still looking at it. We're getting a larger correction like all the others. You know, the H4, we got those 5 up. Like most of the other majors, we got the 5 up on the H4, and we're looking for the larger correction where it goes down and breaks this low. Sort of looking last week at that A, B, C in here, it still it didn't really go much in here, but you know, still can get another one up in here for an A, B, C, and then you get an A, B, C. Larger corrections, larger than these over here. We want to see a larger correction over here, and then we can start looking for buys. At this stage, I mean, we do have 3 down, but I'm not convinced. You know, like we do have like 1, 2, 3 down, and we do even have bullish divergence. But this is quite choppy, breaking the low. So sort of looking for an A, a B, and a C, and this may even turn expanding flat in here before we get the A, B, C. This one is, I mean, we have that bullish divergence on the H1, so this is looking a lot better than the other majors to actually trade. It still is risky because, I mean, I can't really go into it too much, but we do have a bear hidden here, so you have to be careful. It can come down and break that low again, but um, we may be getting a flat in here on the lower time frames, an A, B, C after the impulse of correction, and you get another 5 up. So, if you got a buy set up on here, on the lower time frames in here, you could look for another one up in here. I mean, it does look a lot better than the others to trade just as a scalp, Monday, Tuesday. You'd have to go right down onto the lower time frames and see if it's looking bullish first. And I'm not going to go into how I trade and the strategies or anything like that on here. GY, right up the top of the market. We've got the bearish divergence on the daily. So, I'm only looking for sells. Like I mentioned last week, it's not giving us any sell setups. It's just keep on going. Like we have this flat in here. That flat for the A, B, C, it's getting a long drawn out. I'm still not looking for buys though. I'm looking for an A, a B, and looking to trade that C down. May turn into a flat for more upside, but I'm still looking to trade that C down. We're getting all that bearish divergence, like I mentioned, the H1, we're getting all that bearish divergence as well. I'm not looking for buys. Even though it is giving buy setups, you can trade them, but it's risky. It's just scalping. But we're getting all that bearish divergence on the H1 as well. More than likely, there was a bull hidden here. Would have been on the M30 possibly. Yeah. See, on the M30, we had a bull hidden in here. So more than likely, this top here will be broken. Then we'll start to get that bearish divergence. So after we get that bearish divergence, you can start looking for sells, but you got to wait for this top to be broken. And then if you get a nice impulse down, a sell setup, we can start to look for sells. But until that really happens, you're really just scalping buys until we get that nice sell setup. UI is very similar, on the daily. This has gone a lot further than I thought, but overall, I'd still be looking at this as a B wave because we got that nice impulse down here. So, and this is quite choppy, breaking the top. So I'm still looking for that C down before we get more upside, more than likely more upside. H4, if I can get my internet to kick in. Here we go. So, like I mentioned last week, on the H4, whether we look at this as a larger correction and we get like 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3, and another 3 up or 5 up, it doesn't really matter. Or we look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't really matter. I'm still looking for downside. I'm just looking for sells. H1, we have the bearish divergence as well overall. So yeah, just waiting for that sell setup. It's not giving it. I think this one may have been. I don't think this one gave the bull hidden. I think it may have broke the low here. It did. This is the low here. We got a lower low here, so that's not a bull hidden. But if we're looking at GY, we had that bull hidden here, so more than likely UY will follow and give us a higher high. ideally it does give us a higher high here, so then we can get, a nice impulse down and something to sell, and then we can look for the sells. You know, really, just like I've been mentioning, just really looking for the sells. I'm not really interested in the buys. The buys are just scalps, pretty much. The CAD on the daily, extremely choppy. I'm not liking this at all. Um, After we got that, we didn't get that wave Z up here breaking that top. So, it's just sideways. There is no real clear direction, and all this is corrective, So, um, it can pretty much go either way. There's no clear direction. I was looking for like another one up in here to go and break that top, but even that hadn't happened. On the lower time frames, we were looking at this flat in here, like I mentioned last week, an a B, we get a C up in here as a flat, and then we get another one down in here. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking at that, get a flat in here, like an a B, a C, and then an A, B, C, before we get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. This has become a larger correction now, so it's more bearish. You definitely could look for a sell setup in here next week, and look to go and break that low for that, like A, B, C. So that wouldn't be too bad to trade if you got a nice setup on it. In my group, I show you how to get these nice setups, after you've done your analysis, how you can get in onto these nice trades. And this on the lower time frames may turn into a nice trade just for like an A, B, C, uh, just to go and break that low. Basically, we just got to wait for the correction in here. If it looks corrective and we get a sell setup, well, then we can sell it. If that doesn't happen, well, we don't sell it. The Swissy, we're looking at that, an A, looking at all this as a B. Well, hopefully I'm looking at a B wave here. We get a B wave, and then I'll be looking to load up for that wave C. Really waiting to see what goes on in here. It's starting to look really corrective after this nice impulse up, so that's good sign so far. Really looking for that, if we're going to get this Z down, well, we really got to get it pretty much now. I'm looking for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The time factors, getting a little bit long on the time factor here, but it still is valid. If we get the fifth one down now, that'd be great, and then we can start to load up on a buy. After the 5 down, if we get the fifth one down, we may just get a larger correction in here and then another 5 down, before we get like the A, B, C and more upside. But if we get this fifth one down, well, you definitely can start to load up, even if it turns into a correction. Go into that more as we get more data. But yeah, like I mentioned last week, we were looking for the buy, and that's pretty much what happened. We're looking for the buy. We had this impulse up here last week, and I said even if it's a WXY X2 and you trade that wave Z up, on the M15, well, that's what happened. We got more upside. So that's pretty much exactly what happened. Now, if we get a sell set up, we can start to look for sells. We got all that bearish divergence, so nothing wrong with looking for sells. And pretty much you got to go down onto the lower time frames to get that. We've got all that bearish divergence on the M15. I'm not going to go into it much more than that. e.g., looking for any buys, like I've mentioned, this may start to turn now because we got that A, B, extended wave C with that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. Looking for any buy for a while now. And like I mentioned last week, I am in this, down in here. But we're getting 3 up now. Whoops. We're looking for that flat. This has broken the top now. So yeah, we are getting bearish divergence. So you got to be careful with the buy. More than likely this correction for another one down because it's not real motive. It's played out pretty much. It's more of a sell, but I mean this can keep on going. This wave C may not be over yet. You'd have to go down onto the lower time frames just to get it, see if you get a sell set up. I mean, I wouldn't be looking for buys now because the buys is finished, especially on the lower time frames here. We're getting bearish divergence on the M15, so now is not the time to be looking for the buy. It's the time to be looking for the sell. We've got that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up in here with bearish divergence. So, if we get a nice impulse down and a correction, well, then you could look for a sell, and you could look at this as the end of the wave C, like that A, the B, and the C up. You could look at that as the end of the wave C, but it's still looking bullish here. We don't have that impulse down yet, so yeah, this is looking rather bullish in here. So more than likely this top will be broken, but yeah. WTI, nothing's changed since last week. We got this nice impulse up in here, looking at that A, B, C in here. So we're looking for that A, B, C up in here, and then an A, B, C possibly before we get the A, B, C up that we're looking to trade. I was looking for the C up in here. If you go back through my videos, I was looking for the A, B, and just the C up in here. It never went. We got a nice impulse up, but now we got those 3 down, and we got a nice impulse up in here. So, like I mentioned last week, just looking for, on the H4, looking for a correction. We haven't got that yet. We're getting all this bearish divergence, and we were getting this bearish divergence even last week. We're getting that bearish divergence. So I said you got to be careful buying. We did get some sort of a flat in here. Now we sort of have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, getting a nice impulse down. If this comes down, breaks that low, gives us a sell setup, well, you can look for like an A, B, C. And then you'd be looking for a buy after this correction's over. Whatever correction we get in here, we don't know in advance. But yeah, it's more bearish. We're getting all that bearish divergence on the H1, so there's no sell set up on it though to sell into that correction. We're looking for that wave Z up in here. Looking for that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. It hasn't gone, and it's been very choppy in here, like looking very bearish. Like I mentioned last week, it's pretty well. It didn't actually quite play out as I was looking at last week. I was looking for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correction. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one down. It never come down and broke that top. This low here. It tried to. It come very close, but and it still may yet. It still may come down, break that low. Ideally, it does come down and break this low now, or else this is just going to be a larger correction. It's some sort of an A, B, C, and then you get an A, B, C. before you get more downside. So really like to see that flat play out for that wave Z, but yeah, it's looking less and less likely now. It's becoming drawn out. It's still more of a sell, but well, it's on this time frame. It's not even a sell because I can't really go into it too much because I'll be giving too much away. But yeah, I mean, if I went down to the M15, I'll show you. But we got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up in here. We get an A, B, C in here, some sort of a flat, an A, B, C. Want a larger correction in here after than these, and you get 5, 3, and you could look for another 5 up. And I'll leave it at that. Silver, pretty much the same. Silver, we're looking for this time factor here, though. We don't quite have that time factor. This one did do exactly like I said last week and did come down and break the low. The gold didn't, but the silver did. Well, on the daily, we're looking at that 1, 2, 3, 4, and a fifth one up here. We're looking at that wave Z up. That's what the direction we want to trade in. There was a sell there last week, but so like I mentioned last week, we got this like A, B, C here as a flat, and we had that bear hidden here to go and break that low. That's what's happened. It's come down and broken that low. This isn't looking really bullish in here yet, so it can become more complex. Get an A, B, C, then an A, B, C before you get the A, B, C, filling in the time factor for the daily before you get that buy set up, giving you that wave set up. I'm getting a bit ahead of ourselves there, but this is pretty much the same as gold on the M15. I'm not really liking it. I'm not convinced this is the low yet. But like gold on the M15, it's very similar. I'd be looking for 1, 2, 3, 4. We got that fifth one up. We're getting a bull hidden in here. So I'm looking at some sort of an A, B, C in here, get that flat, and then you get an A, B, C. We want a larger correction than these corrections over here. And then you could look for, if you get a buy set up, you could look for another 5 up. Take a look at Bitcoin. This one didn't play out, unfortunately, so it's going to be very difficult to trade now because we never got that fifth one up. On the daily, we got that like 1, 2, 3, 4. This was looking good and it started off nice, and I was just looking for a little correction in here to finish off that wave Z. It never happened. Instead, now it's pretty much done. I mean, getting less and less likely we're going to get that wave Z up. Well, as a wave Z, it's still looking very much corrective in here for more upside, but it can't look at it as a wave Z now. It's getting way too out of control. H4, we got those 5 up. We got the 5 up. So I was just looking for a correction in here before we get another 5 up. Now it's become very deep to this 5 up here, and this correction has become very deep to the 5 up. So more than likely, there's more downside. It may just be like an A, a B, and get a C up, or we get a correction in here and it goes down and breaks the low. At this stage, on the lower time frames, it'd be more bullish. The H4, you're waiting for a correction. You're waiting for a correction in here for another one down, basically. So it's more bullish on the lower time frames. You'd be looking to buy into a correction. There is a bear hidden on this one, actually. What we got here? Yeah, there was a bear hidden in here. It never went down and broke the low. Instead, we like have one, two, three down. Um, we may get like a fourth and a fifth in here and be very deep correction to this impulse here and get a deep correction and we get an A, B, C. You could look to trade that wave C up. Um, but yeah, it's starting to become very deep, this correction. Um, yeah, I'll quickly go down to the M15, see if we got anything, but I don't think we have. It's more bearish on the M15. It's more bearish because we got this like a WXY. You'd be looking for an X2 and selling a Z down before you could look for an impulse up. Well, if you got the impulse up and a buy set up, well, then you could buy. At this stage, you'd be looking for a sell on the M15 just to scalp. Uh, S&P 500, only looking for sells. We got the 5 up here. It's kept on going. Like we got that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you look back in my trading view, I put out a trade idea here for just an A, B, C. That turned into a wave Y. Then we're looking for another buy for that wave Z. Um, and it even gave another correction in here and more upside. We're getting all that bearish divergence there now. So I'm definitely not looking for buys. H4, we got the 5 up now. We're looking for this wave 5 or wave Z up to that 123.6 and that second target 161.8. It went straight through both of those targets. Really just looking for either a larger correction in here for another 5 up, 5, 3, and another 5 up, or this really comes down, breaks this low, and gives us a correction for more downside. We really got to see, but I'm only looking for sells up here. We got that bearish divergence a couple of weeks ago. Like I mentioned, I did get into a sell around here for that C down. We're looking at that A, B, C. That never went, well, we got the 3 down. That was fine. But it come up and broke that top. Now we're getting a nice impulse down. So again, if we get a sell set up in here, like we did over here, you can look for that sell. Even if it's just an A, B, C, you can look for a sell. But it's not ready yet. You got to wait for a correction in here next week and see if it gives you a sell set up. See if it gives you a correction in here on the lower time frames and then a sell setup. If it does, well, you can definitely look for that sell, and I will be looking for that sell myself. I didn't do AU 200 or the other indices last week, so I'll go over them, even if this video does take a little bit longer. But we pretty much got the A, B, C up to the 100 fib, exactly like I was looking for. We got that big bounce off that 100 fib, and I was sort of looking for this one down in here on the higher time frame. We never got that. Instead, it comes straight back up. This is more corrective, like for more upside. Get an A, B, C in here, and then we may get more upside. It hasn't fallen over after we got that C up, so something's wrong. It's more bullish on the daily. It's pretty much untradeable at the moment. There's really nothing on it. If anything, I'd be looking for a buy. Just looking at like this, we sort of have like 1, 2, 3 down in here. So I'd be looking for a 1, 2, 3 up in here before you get an A, B, C, then A, B, C before you get the larger A, B, C, large correction before we get more upside. Like I mentioned on the daily, we'll get a larger correction and then more upside, and that's what it's looking like on the price action on the lower time frames. It's not much to trade though. It's very risky to even like buy this one up in here, like like I said, that we had that like 1, 2, 3 down, and I'd be looking for a buy. But this is a very risky trade. Excuse me, something that I wouldn't do. I'd stay away from risky trades. There's no reason to be trading this at this stage. I mean, it's just it's, you just don't do it. That's how you lose money. Um, the FTSE, by the look of it, we're looking for another larger correction here. Looking at an A, B, WXY and X2, and then we get a Z up. So we're in this time factor here. There's really not much to see. We're in this time factor. You got to wait for this time factor here before you start looking for buys, or even consider start looking for buys. Really, there is a bull hidden here, in here, and we're sort of getting an A, B, C here as a flat. And then you get the A, B, C. After this A, B, C down, if we get that C breaking the low here, like it looks like it's going to, and then you get a buy setup. Well, you can look for a buy to go and break that top. But until that happens, you're pretty much staying out of it. I doubt if you get a sell in here. Right, this is extremely choppy. These sort of charts, you're really looking at the daily, and you're trading in the day of the, you're trading in the direction of the daily. When you get these choppy charts like this, you're not, you can't scalp these, because you just get taken out. You really got to like get on to the end of a structure, and like here, like we got that impulse up, this look corrective. Well, you get on in here and you just stay on it. If you get in somewhere here in this correction, well, you have your stop down here and you just keep it. That's how you trade these really choppy pairs. You're really trading them as an investment long term. Because if I go down onto the M15, like there's no way you can trade this. Like you got the bearish divergence in here. You got a nice impulse down, but it was very deep. So there's no trade. You'd just be looking for an A, B, C. Very difficult to trade. Extremely difficult to trade, and it's just not worth your time. It's definitely not worth my time. Trading these, these indices. S&P 500 is pretty much the only indice that I trade. The DAX, we're getting all that bearish divergence on the daily, really only looking for sells, but this again, this is looking very much bullish here. We haven't fallen over. We have a sharp one down in here. It went up, broken the top. It's not sharp down in here. It's more bullish for another one up. So, this can be a flat in here, an A, some sort of a B, and a C, or we get like an A, B, C here, and then you get the A, B, C as a larger correction before you get the A, B, C. This is looking bullish, so if you got a buy, you could scalp it, but it's not ready on the lower time frames. As you can see, this is very much bearish in here, so I'd be looking for another one down and then a nice impulse up, and then you could start looking for a buy for that A, B, C. So hope you all enjoyed the weekly outlook. If you did, hit the like button, share and subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.